some random Twitter freak said, as someone who used to watch Asmongold with my wife daily, he was our comfy WoW streamer who was funny and entertaining and never noticed the signs until it was too late. It blows. I hate that he used to be my favorite streamer, knowing he would laugh if I got killed now. It blows. Remember how I taught you, chat, that when someone claims to have previously been a fan, but now they're an ardent hater, they're always fucking lying? Asmongold here with the, you viciously attack people with the most personal insults you can imagine, then play for sympathy, imagining that I'd laugh if you died. Childlike subversive manipulation. Embarrassing, really. And he posts a screenshot of that Twitter freak saying, hopefully once you're no longer relevant, you can go back to doing what you do best. Being alone in your disgusting home where you got your mother killed due to neglect. Yeah, that sounds like someone who used to be an Asmongold fan. That definitely sounds like an empathetic and understanding individual. And so I came in with obviously the Freerin quote, which I have started watching this, by the way. I'm like 3 episodes in. It's fucking great so far. They're a fucking liar. Of course they are. That's all they know how to do. And what I found even more amusing, oh God, why are you VTubing and getting money? Go follow what your hero thinks women should stay as. Saying, Asmon said, hopefully after this is over, women can go back to doing what they do best, being a mother or being a prostitute. Hey, you know what I could do at the same time as being a mother? I could stream. You know what housewives used to do before the Civil Rights Act ruined everything for women who wanted to be housewives? We could make money off of our hobbies. Wow, what a concept. No way. They VTube. VTubing wasn't a thing back in the 70s, brother. But yeah, there were women who did do like acting and shit. They could make clothes and sell them. Yeah, exactly. Your grandma used to sell Tupperware. You even bought some because it's good quality. Hell yeah. And then, of course, we have the Twitter freak quote retweeting saying, aren't you a white supremacist? And that getting possibly 4.5k likes. I don't know if I believe that, considering most of the people are pushing back against this person. Because in no way have I ever been, or will I ever be, a white supremacist. That's fucking crazy. I have no superior feelings to other individuals, which is what is required for supremacy. Like, the fact that they could just throw this around is insane. All they do is lie. All they do is lie. And it's like, the saddest part, right, is that these kinds of lies, they will use this to try and destroy people. They will actually go and attack people based on the lies they create about them. We have, like, she's a white nationalist, which is sometimes an important distinction. I'm an American nationalist, buddy. I want the best for America. All right, that doesn't have a skin color, you fucking floozy. Actually insane. Quote retweets are literally representative of the Freerin quote you posted. They are. They are. Understanding the point is impossible for them. Like, the conservatives not missing the point of Freerin for their dogshit political agenda, impossible. Like I said, it's amazing how Eastern fans will be inspired by Himmel to be better people, while the West fan will watch the show and become more Hitlerian. I know your ass ain't talking out of all people. Like, genuinely, they just prove my quote correct. Ever notice how all the evil characters are white? You know, when I watch anime, I just assume that everyone is Japanese unless otherwise specifically stated. I don't know what they mean by this. They attack small and upcoming people because they can be easier. They are horrible. Yeah, that's exactly what Asmongold said when I went through the cancellation shit last year. Like, it's actually just fucking wild. Moldy bread? Thank you for acknowledging I'm a VTuber, question mark? 4 episodes watched, 500 screenshots in the camera roll. Close. Only 3 episodes right now. But it's really good, and people have been telling me to watch it for ages, so, you know. I have 0 screenshots, unfortunately. Little did they know Kirsche was not actually that small and helpless, they thought. Supremacist calls foul when condescended toward. Imagine that. It's false condescension because you guys perceive that you have a moral high ground while actually behaving like demons. It's insane. Jesus Christ. Freerin was talking about dipshits like you. It's actually insane. It's actually insane. They genuinely do not get it. They're salty. Of course they're salty. Like I said, they're losing power and they need to try and claw back any last grasps of it. So it's gonna get way worse before it gets better. The Charlotte, North Carolina NAACP president says that it's seriously disturbing that white people are being considered for interim mayor. Why would we replace the black outgoing mayor with a white person?
Why would we replace the black outgoing mayor with a white person? That simple. NAACP Charlotte Mecklenburg chapter president Corinne Mack refusing to walk back her comments in this Facebook post from Monday.
Post says, it is seriously disturbing for white folks to be lobbying to be the interim mayor in Charlotte. Our mayor, who recently resigned, is a black woman who is a registered Democrat. While black representation is being undermined and stripped nationwide, white folks are either tone deaf or worse, self-centered. It's not about you. In Charlotte, black voters have been intentional about having black representation. What is the consensus after several discussions? If the city council votes a non-black person as interim mayor again, voters will hold you accountable next year. Now, see, in a normal world, this would be hellaciously racist and this woman would never have a career in anything again. But it's actually just perfectly fine to be racist against white people. Don't worry about it.
Mack wrote that it is, quote, seriously disturbing for white folks to be lobbying to be Charlotte's interim mayor. City Council is currently searching for someone to serve out the remainder of Vi Lyles' term, who is set to resign at the end of June. In an interview with Queen City News on Wednesday, Mack argued recent rulings on voting rights and redistricting efforts are evidence of black representation being undermined and stripped, and that voters in Charlotte...
They capitalized black but not white? Of course they did. They're just a racist. Like, if Charlotte was literally a 100% black city, I'd be like, yeah, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird, right? Where would you even find a white person to run in a 100% black city? But I have a feeling that Charlotte is not 100% black citizens. They never mentioned why I have no idea why she resigned, but that's interesting. Heathens can only project. It's just like, why? Why do you have to bring race into it, man? Whoever is most qualified to be mayor should be the mayor. They should be the mayor for all of the people, not just one skin color that lives there.
Have been intentional about having black representation.
And my question to the white folks who are up in arms and outraged, are they outraged about the fact that black representation is under attack? Are they outraged about the gerrymandering that's happening all over this country?
Martin Luther King is rolling over in his grave thinking about, hearing...
Oh no, we got our racially gerrymandered districts disqualified for being unconstitutional. We are under attack.
Something like what was said today in that post.
Abdul Ali, the vice chair for the 12th Congressional...
I think that's really interesting that he invokes Martin Luther King, who said that he wanted people to be judged on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And it was ruled that gerrymandering based on race was unconstitutional. So by using critical thinking, Martin Luther King would have been for this decision because it's not using skin color as a determinant.
The Republican Party rejected Mack's argument, saying it's antithetical to the original mission of the NAACP.
I think it's ridiculous because we're not talking about black people not being able to vote. We're not talking about black people not being able to run for office. If that were the case in any law that came out, whether it was done by the Trump administration or Republicans in any state, I'd stand with her against that. But that's not what we're talking about.
Maybe I misunderstood what he said. I thought he was saying that Martin Luther was rolling over in his grave because the gerrymandering got rid of, but I guess he was saying it's a good thing that gerrymandering got undone. So yeah, I retract, and I agree with this guy. I agree with what he was saying. We made the same thing. It was me. I was the retard this time. I was the retard this time. All right, okay. Based guy.
The search for interim
we had a woman
still
moment.
in its early stages, but council has said they want Lyles' replacement ready in time for her June 3rd.
He was opposing what the woman before was saying. Yeah, I did not catch on to that until he started his next statement, because it sounded like he was agreeing with her at first, but that's my misunderstanding. My bad, bro. Check the wiki. The last census, the black population was 284K, and the white population is about 347K in Charlotte. Yeah, that makes your statement like even more horrendously racist. White people in a town where there's 347,000 of you, you're not allowed to run for mayor. That's crazy. That's crazy. My elections are under attack. Suffer. Joe Bartolozzi goes off on people who say black people are more likely to commit crimes than white people. If you're going to say statistically they do, that is only because of impoverished areas and the lives they've been given due to the implications of systemic racism. Bro, this guy looks like he could have been a runner-up for the main character in American History X. That's crazy.
Do not commit more crimes than white people on a personality basis. If you're going to say statistically they do, that is only because of impoverished areas in the lives that they've been given because of the implications that have been put on them through, what is it called? Systemic racism. They've been given a shit hand and therefore...
Bro couldn't even remember the buzzword.
...or live in that shit hand and are more likely to commit crimes if they're impoverished living in areas where they have to survive. If you were to take
someone
a group
called
of
Jontron
people and put them in an impoverished area, they're likely to commit more crimes because they have not been helped in the way that they need to be. But if you meet a black guy on the street and you say to his face, he's more likely to commit a crime than you're fucking racist. Yes, whatever statistical fact you're going.
I don't think that there's individuals, especially individuals who look at statistics, going outside and being like, you're more likely to murder someone, you're more likely to be a rapist, you're more likely to commit a B&E 7 times in your lifetime. Like, I don't think anyone's doing that. Like, maybe that Chud the Builder guy, but
going to throw is clouded by the idiocy of yourself to not recognize why that fact is in existence. Not because black people are genetically more likely to commit a crime. That's stupid. Do not commit more crimes.
And then Asmongold here, Asmongold saying, it's true that blacks experience systemic racism. They benefit from it. Blacks and other minority groups enjoy preferential treatment through DEI and affirmative action at the expense of white and Asian Americans. Socioeconomic conditions is a cope, and everyone knows it. And I was like, damn, that's crazy to hear just put out in, like, no uncertain terms. As Asmin Unchained kinda is nuts. And you know what? He's also fucking right. Indian professor classifies a Chinese professor as white in HR records to justify denying him a promotion. Amazing! And this is an excerpt saying misclassification of race. On its official faculty permission to hire form, Dr. Wang was recorded in SMU's HR EEO records as white, despite self-identifying as Chinese and East Asian. On information and belief, Dr. Wang did not supply or approve that entry, and the misclassification remained uncorrected until at least April 2022. The misclassification was not a typographical error, i.e., clicking the wrong box for race as white was typed into the form, and Dr. Wang's surname, Wang, and multiple face-to-face meetings made his ethnicity obvious. By misclassifying Dr. Wang as white, the department effectively created false records that removed recognition of his minority status from official records. And what this further tells us is that they do explicitly discriminate against white people. This is an explicit notice of this man was misclassified as white, explicitly to discriminate against him and to deny him promotions. That's... I love when they just come out and say it. It's nuts, man. That's absolutely nuts. The DOJ says Yale Medical School discriminated against Asian and white applicants. An investigation concluded that Yale School of Medicine favored black and Hispanic applicants. The Justice Department sent similar findings to UCLA last week. The Justice Department on Thursday accused Yale School of Medicine of discriminating based on race in its admissions by favoring black and Hispanic applicants over white and Asian ones. The department's allegations are based on a years-long investigation that sought to determine whether Yale's admission practices were in compliance with federal civil rights law. The agency determined that the medical school continues to intentionally discriminate against applicants based on their race, despite a 2023 Supreme Court ruling rejecting race-conscious affirmative action in college admissions. The department looked at median grade point averages and standardized test scores broken down by race and concluded that Yale's use of race resulted in a black applicant being as much as 29 times higher odds of getting an interview for admission than an equally strong Asian applicant with similar academic credentials. The investigation did not address other factors Yale may use in admission decisions, such as essays, transcripts, letters of recommendation, and interviews. Nor did it reveal how much scores and grades weigh in on the admission process. Scores for admitted students of all races were very high according to the data, but there were small disparities. The median entrance exam score for admitted black students at Yale's medical school last year was 518 and 517 for Hispanic students, according to the Justice Department. The median score was 524 for both white and Asian students. The highest possible score is 528. The median grade point average in 2025 for admitted black students was 3.88 and 3.91 for Hispanic students. For white students, it was not 3.97, and for Asians, 3.98. The department is seeking a voluntary resolution to its investigation, but said that if this isn't possible, it may seek to compel compliance through enforcement. The students admitted to Yale School of Medicine demonstrate exceptional academic achievement and personal commitment. Its program of medical education encourages curiosity and critical thinking, and its graduates go on to become leaders in clinical care, research, and public service. Yale spokeswoman Karen Pert wrote in an email, "We will carefully review the Department of Justice's letter, and Yale School of Medicine is confident in the rigorous admissions process we follow." The investigation is part of the Trump administration's aggressive effort to force changes in higher education, particularly regarding college admissions and diversity initiatives, which again, I love what he's doing. This is great. There should be no factor of race when it comes to admissions or anything involving college. It should all be meritocratic. But if you're not going to get rid of the communist gobbledygook teachers that are in these institutions, you're never going to fully flout out all of this gay race communism. If you want to get rid of it, the teachers must be fired. They must be removed from the educational system. Fuck that, just compel them now. They're going to try and wait out the clock for a Dem president to let them keep on being racist. I mean, that's exactly what Bridge has instructed people to do, right? Like, they're teaching companies and colleges and other places how to continue doing the DEI work without getting caught by the administration or by any kind of, conservative activist groups like America First Legal. Sorry, I was trying to fucking find words, my brain. They don't want companies getting attacked by like legal groups bringing up discrimination lawsuits, because this is what they're doing. They are being discriminatory. The crazy part about this is we don't need to pass new laws. We already have laws on the book that make all of this shit illegal, but they've been neglected or subverted for 40 years. True? And it's in keeping with ongoing efforts to bring lawsuits challenging admission practices, such as those filed against Harvard and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, that led to the 2023 Supreme Court ruling. Under President Donald Trump, the Justice Department has repeatedly investigated universities for alleged racial discrimination against white and Asian students, arguing that higher education's diversity goals have led to unfair treatment that is both wrong and against the law. It issued a similar finding last week to UCLA's medical school, with the agency arguing that the school used race as a primary selection criteria. Investigations have also been launched to look into admissions practices at Stanford University, the University of California's schools in Berkeley and Irvine. Oh, Berkeley is going to be a fun investigation. And at the medical schools of Stanford, Ohio State University, and UC San Diego. And in a lawsuit filed against Harvard University, the administration accused the school of failing to provide admissions data as a part of its ongoing investigation there. I would be very shocked if they ever get that admissions data, considering also in Massachusetts, the citizens have voted for a government audit in the state, like, twice now, I believe. And it's like over 70% of Massachusetts voters wanted the government to have an audit, and nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody's doing anything. Berkeley has more white people than you think, less black and Hispanic, but they stack the deck because they don't like how they have to try and be balanced. Berkeley is just like a fucking crazy commie hive mind place. It would not surprise me that it would be overwhelmingly white. By the way, note that they glossed over how whites and Asians needed scores more than twice as close to perfect than the DEIs to get in. This is why, like, whenever people complain about a DEI hire being an insult, it's like, this is the future you chose. People would see, like, a black man or a woman being on a CEO board of directors or whatever, and they would be like, wow, that's crazy. I think of the work they had to put in to get there, and now it's just like, oh, they were probably just shoehorned in by somebody because of their race or their gender. In a statement, a UCLA spokesperson said the school is reviewing the Justice Department's findings and said its admissions process was based on merit and grounded in a rigorous, comprehensive review of each applicant. We just don't believe your lies anymore, buddy boy. We are confident in our practices and our mission to maintain access to a high-quality education for all qualified students. The Trump administration's approach has upended traditional civil rights enforcement, which for years focused on discrimination against people of color. Under Trump, agencies across government, including the Education Department and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, have pressed their case that discrimination against white and Asian people is a more urgent problem. I would say they're like equal problems, right? Because it's not a discrimination against people of color, it's a discrimination in favor of people of color, which disadvantages white and Asian people. So it's like a two-pronged discrimination kind of thing. Certain race colors get preferential treatment and like DEI hiring, and other races get the fuck out, we hate you. The Justice Department has also expansively interpreted the Supreme Court's anti-affirmative action decision, declaring that the ruling barred any considering of race in education. Well, that's because it did. What do you mean? Others suggest there is more nuance to the ruling, but those arguments have held little sway inside the Trump administration. Good. Suffer not a fucking communist. In the Yale investigation, the department pointed to the medical school staff circulation of a holistic admissions graphic created by the Association of American Medical Colleges that includes the word race and national origin, along with many other criteria such as community service and life experiences, that could be factors in admissions decisions. A spokeswoman for the association said the graphic was from 2008 and was out of date. She pointed to a more recent guidance that encourages schools to deploy a mission-aligned approach to selection and retention of students, where a program's mission helps to define merit and where a school considers whether an applicant's attributes and experiences are aligned with the program's goals. This is the Bridge commie gobbledygook. This is exactly what Bridge tells people to do. Oh no, we're not doing that anymore. That's against the law. We're now mission aligned and we're doing things the right way. Don't worry, don't look into it. It's not the same thing as before. Following the 2023 Supreme Court ruling, the association offered other ideas to boost diversity that could be in compliance with the law, including giving balanced consideration to experiences and attributes alongside academic metrics. Why? Why are there so many fucking commies interested in being racially discriminatory? Like, why do you want to do this? It doesn't make sense to me. Nothing in the Supreme Court decision compels us to deviate from our goal of diversifying the healthcare workforce. David J. Skorton, the CEO of the AAMC, said during a webinar with medical school leaders, "Lives depend on us diversifying the healthcare workforce." Again, this is exactly what Sherm said 2 years ago. This is exactly what Bridge said 2 years ago. I've been ahead of the curve on calling this shit out on every fucking metric. If only more people would look into what Bridge is, maybe we could head off some of this commie gobbledygook before it gets too entrenched. Actually fucking crazy. One of the first, oh god, what are they called? It's not the Smart Brief, but one of the first, weekly newsletter things that Bridge was putting out in collaboration with some lawyers and shit, was talking about how even though Trump has made an executive order making it so places can't do DEI as openly, that doesn't mean that you can't do DEI at all, and that also doesn't mean that your mission statement has changed in any way, shape, or form. You just need to figure out how to continue doing the work without getting caught. Many medical professionals and advocates have argued that it is essential to have a racially diverse medical workforce to better serve a racially diverse population. A 2025 UCLA study, for instance, found that clinical outcomes improve when patients are treated by doctors of the same or similar race or ethnicity. There are far fewer Black and Hispanic doctors proportionally than there are patients. I'm racking my brain, right? And I'm trying to think of all the white doctors I've had, right? If they want to claim that outcomes improve when patients are treated by the doctors of the same or similar race or ethnicity, then by that logic, I should be seeking out only white doctors. The white female doctors I've had have all been fucking terrible, whereas the male Korean doctors I've had have all been fucking wonderful. So, again, personal anecdotes are not fact, but I can use my own personal experience to completely rebut this statement in the first place. I just the only white male doctor I can think that I've had in any recent times were the two doctors who actually solved my fucking problems. So I've been going through life years with immense back pain, with nerve pain, with all this damage stemming from an accident I had at 19. No doctors I've seen have wanted to address any of the issues. One of the white females even told me that I must be hallucinating it and I should check myself into a mental health facility. And so she was just a cunt. And you know who solved my problems? A white male chiropractor and the white male previous neurosurgeon who now does pain remedial stuff as fun. He does it as a side hobby. Statistical disparities in academic qualifications between racial groups admitted to the university certainly raise red flags, but it is not definitive evidence of discrimination, said Collenberg. Oh, this fucking piece of shit. who testified against Harvard's policies in the court case challenging its admission procedures. We don't know which of those two things are going on, economic affirmative action, which is perfectly legal, or racial, which is not, he said. I fucking hate commies and the word games they play. For the Trump administration, a race-neutral strategy like this is also illegal if the true goal is racial diversity. The math ain't mathin', buddy. What the fuck are you even trying to say? A race-neutral strategy would be perfectly legal because it's not discriminatory. Why would anyone's true goal be racial diversity? Again, it should be meritocratic. What are we doing? Officials refer to this as using another factor as a proxy for race. Still, the Supreme Court has never said that proxies are illegal and has declined opportunities to issue rulings that could have done so. This is basically like, yeah, we are using a proxy in order to continually do racial discrimination against certain races, but the Supreme Court never said that the proxies are illegal. So we're technically doing things up and up on the legal front, and you can't tell if we're discriminating based on race or based on income. So get fucked, buddy! I hate communists so fucking much. I hate them. The Supreme Court never said that seeking educational benefits of racial diversity is illegal, he said. To the contrary, they said the goal of increasing cross-racial understanding is laudable. Anyone that praises anything communistic at this point is just subhuman. Like, how do you even? Liam Dell, thank you. Using a different excuse to accomplish the same goal. Again, it's just obfuscation. They're not doing anything different. They're just finding ways to call it something different so that if you call them out on it, they could say, well, you can't really know. What are you, some kind of racist? And get you to shut up and stop paying attention. It's all so tiresome. We have Harmeet Dalon saying, at Yale Medical School, a black applicant is 29 times more likely to be invited to interview than an Asian with equally strong academics. Today, Civil Rights told Yale that its use of race in admissions is illegal, and that the Justice Department will step in to enforce Title VI. And here's the official Justice Department release. Justice Department Civil Rights Division has completed a year-long investigation into the admissions policies and practices at the Yale School of Medicine. Yale's documents show that its leadership intentionally selected applicants based on their race. Yale's documents reveal that they studied how to use racial proxies to circumvent the Supreme Court's prohibition on using race to select students. Fuck, get me in contact with someone in the government and I will give you everything from Bridge, and you will catch these people before they continue discriminating. That's all I need, buddy. I can give you the information so you can go after these people in a much more efficient manner. It's all so tiresome. Yale's admissions data demonstrate that Black and Hispanic students have a much higher chance of admission to Yale than white or Asian students with the same test scores. Yale has continued its race-based admissions program despite the Supreme Court and the public's clear mandate for reform, said Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dalon of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division. This department will continue to shed light on these illegal practices and demand that institutions of higher education comply with federal law. The investigation showed that, in general, Black and Hispanic applicants were admitted with consistently lower academic qualifications than their white and Asian counterparts. These facts support the department's finding that Yale violated the law by intentionally discriminating based on race in its admissions, in clear violation of federal law. Medical schools use substantial federal financial assistance to train the next generation of doctors. The department is continuing its focus on eradicating illegal race politics from admissions at medical schools, where quality and excellence are vitally important to public safety. Which is very fucking true. Like, as dangerous and disgusting as DEI and racial discrimination are in every aspect of life, it's especially heinous in places like doctors and the military and places that are actually dealing with other people's lives. Have you ever wanted a pet, but the responsibility of remembering to feed and water something alive is a horrifying prospect? Get your very own Korsche today. This little guy is too low IQ to understand it's not alive. Do you already own the Conco's My Little Padded Room Magical Girl Kirsche plush? Well, get this companion Korsche to keep her company. Or maybe you just want to commit war crimes with a reliable partner who won't snitch to Interpol about your dastardly doings. Get your Korsche today. The Korsche will continue to love you, no matter what. Except if you try to do it. Do not the Korsche. The Korsche is for loving, eating, and war crimes, not for doing. Buy a Korsche for your Korsche so that they don't get lonely inside your walls. Korsches are valuable employees of Korsche Mart, and if you find a Korsche reverted back to a Kirsche, please call 1-800-KORSCHE now to have her return to her original residence. Korsches are also an endangered species due to severe retardation, overeating, and excessive use by world powers and military conflicts. Please know that owning a Korsche does not give you the right to do it. The feds are listening to your every move. If you or a loved one has been assaulted by a Korsche, contact authorities immediately, as you will not make it. You can buy your very own life-size Korsche or a Korsche for your Korsche starting May 8th at 3 p.m. EST through June 5th at 8 p.m. EST. Get yours now before they escape and are gone forever. So Zach Bussy over here said, to get everyone on the same page, here's a breakdown on what's happening because rumors always travel further and faster in a vacuum. Earlier today, there was an initial rumor that Stream Elements was laying off all staff and shutting down. I heard this secondhand from a trusted source, but like any rumor, it was not confirmed. It was merely a starting point. I personally require at least 2 independent sources to confirm a story, as individuals can make mistakes or misinterpret the facts, especially if there's a reason that might make it personal. Hard agree. That's a good standard to have, Mr. Bussy. Since then, the single source has repeated this story to everyone in his Stream Elements sponsorship Discord, not the official one. And as such, it has been shared as a rumor widely across streamer Twitter. Yes, he does work for Stream Elements as a creator success manager, so he does have credibility. At the same time, I have attempted to get secondary confirmation from anyone at Stream Elements, but have been unable to. Every person I've spoken to about this, creators, former SE staff, media people, has the same source, the person mentioned above. Now that said, let's talk about contributing factors. Stream Elements continues to be silent on the matter. They've been slow to pay users in recent weeks. They seem to have been removed from Twitch's third-party sponsorship offers. I've never used that, so I had no idea that was even a thing. And also, for all the issues I've had with, like, the Stream Elements dashboard, like, you guys have heard me and Binary Mind losing our fucking minds over how long we've been in talks with, like, Stream Elements support, because the dashboard that, like, shows people's names and their tips has just been basically non-functional for like the last year. But I will say I have never had a slow payment from them. I have always been paid on time, not just for like every sponsorship I've done, but also like whenever I withdraw my money from Stream Elements to go to my bank, always have been paid like incredibly fast. So I have no idea what the slow to pay users has been like or why people are encountering that issue. Hopefully that gets resolved, because if people aren't getting paid out, that fucking sucks, dude. They've been soliciting donations to keep the service free. Maybe. I have no idea if they have. But also, if Stream Elements came out and they were like, we wanted to keep our promise to keep this platform free for everyone forever. However, we're not able to do that anymore. And so it's with a heavy heart that we must ask for like a subscription. Streamers using this service for everything that it does, I would have zero issue paying like $5 or $10 a month for everything Stream Elements offers, especially if it got me access to like an actual competent customer service, right? And in reading through all of the stuff on Twitter, there were some people mentioning that Stream Elements had like $110 million windfall in like 2021. And then they hired like 200 plus people in 2022. I don't know what it is with companies that end up doing really well that they overhire and start bringing on people who either don't know what they're doing or are basically a useless pencil pusher. Because there's zero reason Stream Elements needed 200 plus more employees. You found it weird that it wasn't their first resource rather than shutting down and selling? Yeah. What were all those employees actually doing? And it's like, when you have like a creator manager, right? They don't just manage one person. If you're a creator manager and you're only managing one person, they have to be like fucking Asmongold tier. Otherwise, you're not making enough money as just a manager. So you typically take on like a roster of creators and you do sponsor stuff for all of those creators, right? So you're going to need to expand and get more creator managers the more creators sign on to your processes. You're probably not going to need 200 plus. Tech company culture? Yeah, right? Retards who had windfalls to projected annual profits, right? They make the mistake of thinking the growth percentage will continue. You've made that mistake yourself, but you're not able to afford consultants to tell you that you're wrong. You know? And in line with a lot of these posts, I've also been seeing some content creators say that a big issue with content creation is that there's a full-time job with no full-time wage. And I think that's very weird that there are a lot of content creators that think that they are entitled to some kind of flat wage or even a minimum wage to do this. Because once again, content creation is like the new Hollywood. When people would try to become actors or singers or whatever, not only were they routinely the butt of the joke for being impoverished failures, because like 1% of people who try to become actors and singers actually make it, but it was like culturally acceptable to make fun of the people trying to make it big in Hollywood. Whereas when it comes to content creators, it seems like if you have the realistic approach of you should treat content creation like a hobby because very few people actually make it to a self-sustainable, real full-time job point, you're seen as like, oh, how could you say that? How could you say that? There's so many people trying their hardest and putting in so much effort every day. How dare you denigrate those people? And it's like, well, I don't want people to feel like they should stop. Like, if you want to do it, you should do it. But you have to be realistic. If you're not making money from doing content creation to pay your bills, you might need to work a real, heavy quotes, real job before you can do it full time. I just don't understand. And so like, I feel like the bitch for pointing out like the obvious. At the end of the day, results do matter. Yeah. And it's like every time I have this loop, I'm sure like some people will take it the wrong way, but it's like, I've been there myself. I've been in that position where it's like, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I need to scale this back. Maybe I need to get a quote unquote real job. I've been in that position. And it's like, I'm not unaware. I'm incredibly lucky to be where I am. It's not just because like I've worked hard to get here. I have, but hard work isn't the only thing that gets you somewhere in like Hollywood or content creation. You're a little familiar with how entertainers get paid thanks to Adam Carolla's ranting. The Stream Elements comes across to you as a middleman. Kier needs a dedicated manager and some kind of payroll specialist. Stream Elements was incredibly helpful. Like, I'll just talk about the tip portion because they did a lot more than just the tip link. But Stream Elements tip link is useful for people to obscure their personal information. When someone tips me through my Stream Elements link, they don't get my real name, they don't get my address, they don't get any of that information that would typically be in the receipt if they had donated directly to PayPal. The juicy tip! And on the top of that, Stream Elements provided a way for people to tip without using PayPal. So like previously, if you didn't have PayPal, you wouldn't be able to tip unless a creator had a specific link through like Stream Elements with SE Pay, or I think Streamlabs might also offer something without PayPal. But it's like, it was not a very common thing. And so you have this two-pronged, like, it's very useful. And then on top of those useful things, Stream Elements offered additional protection from chargeback. I've thankfully not been a victim of a chargeback before. I've had people who have accidentally like double tipped when they meant to like send a 20 and they're like, oh fuck, I sent it twice. They'll just open a mod ticket and I'll be like, okay, I can just refund this, no big deal, right? Like it's not an issue if that happens. You're right, Kirsche. Anyone that made this into a full-time job successfully should be insanely grateful, because let's be honest, this profession, and you say that loosely, is basically a step up from a hobby when it comes down to it. It is. It's a step up from a hobby, and it's amazing that we live in an era that we can do something like, you know, reading news and engaging with people or playing video games and make money off of it. Like, that's crazy. That's insane. You don't even need the like functional trained talent of a singer or an actor to do this, right? Like, you don't have to, you can, but it's insane. It's insane. And it's crazy that any of us are here and have people who are like, we find enough value in what you do that we want to spend our hard-earned money to help you build a career out of this. Like, it's incredibly surreal when you think about it. And I think it would do very well for a lot of creators to think of this as new Hollywood. If you make it, you're going to start being like a recognizable name, like an old school celebrity. And it's going to be just as hard to make it as it would be in Hollywood. That's true. And make money without ads, because advertisers hate this, Fox. What do you mean, Kirsche? Clown has been a profession for centuries. That is a fair point. Clown has been a profession for centuries, but alas, we have no kings to employ jesters. Finally, Bussy continues saying they have had numerous layoffs over the last few years and more have left of their own volition in the last few months. On the other hand, it's unusual to simply shut down a service with hundreds of thousands of users without first becoming a paid service. Again, it's weird to all of us, but when I do understand the conundrum that they're in, if they made a promise and they wholeheartedly believed that they should have this service be free for everyone forever. I very much understand the, like, confliction with your principles on that point. But with thousands of people relying on this service, or as Bussy says, hundreds of thousands, I think the majority of us would be okay paying a subscription service rather than having the entire service ripped out from under us, you know? Probably also less dick sucking in this profession than in Hollywood. I got some bad news for you, buddy. Or maybe just shutting down part of the service and focusing wholly on the sponsorship side. Either way, it's unusual. The entire thing is unusual, and while the rumors may end up being true, I don't feel confident saying that yet. As I said, my standard is at least 2 independent confirmations. More is better. I always prefer being right to being first. This is also a good thing to do. This is why I like it when things happen midweek. They get to develop and I have more information by Friday. That said, given the situation as presented, it may still be worthwhile to ensure any SE pay money is requested, and you may want to download your alerts or move to an alternative such as Streamlabs. Disclosure, Bussy has a partnership with them, but an easy link to do so is attached below. I don't want to use Streamlabs because of all of their weird jank shit with trying to claim stuff that OBS made, they actually made, them just plagiarizing things from OBS, them trying to copyright Streamlabs OBS so more people get them confused with OBS. I just don't like Streamlabs. Streamlabs was what I originally used as a streamer because it's basically retard proof. Like, you can be functionally like a chimpanzee and be able to use Streamlabs. Moving off of Streamlabs was a little difficult for me because everything else was a lot more user input necessary and a lot less user friendly. But once you get used to the harder things, it just becomes second nature, kind of. Except for audio. Fuck audio. Stream Elements made an official update at almost 3 a.m. this morning. Official update, we're in positive discussions with potential acquirers and working to find the best path forward for creators, customers, and our team. We'll share more updates soon. We've spent over a decade building for creators and we'll do everything we can to keep supporting the community. And I believe the Stream Elements team when they say this. I have not heard of a single person like feeling fucked over by Stream Elements. Again, if some people have delayed payments, that fucking sucks. I've never encountered that issue. Hopefully they can get that taken care of. My hesitancy is where they come in and say, we're in positive discussions with potential acquirers. Now, I trust the current team at Stream Elements to want to do right by creators, but whomever may acquire them will very likely not have the same mindset. And so that makes me very, very wary for even if Stream Elements continues and even if this service exists, it might become just as predatory as Twitch or YouTube towards creators. And so that's why, like, even if Stream Elements sticks around, if they're acquired by a different company, I would still want to have that contingency of building my own, if possible, on my website. It's so over time to jump ship to another platform, which sucks. What really sucks is, like, the only 2 platforms that I know of that offer everything that Stream Elements does is Stream Elements and Streamlabs. Like, people have floated some other alternatives, but they don't have, like, the all-in-one package that these 2 platforms do. And so if Stream Elements gets acquired by money-grubby, non-content creator-first mentality people, it's going to go a similar way and have a similar blemish on its reputation as Streamlabs. U.S. Supreme Court has ruled 9-0. Even the illiterate Supreme Court justice voted with everyone else that freight brokers can be held liable if they negligently hire unsafe trucking companies, including those with illegal alien and foreign drivers who violate CDL rules and cause accidents. Let's fucking go start cracking down on the companies. The opinion delivered by Barrett confirms that federal law does not shield these brokers from state negligence lawsuits. This will likely help force brokers into being much more careful about which carriers they use, because they want to avoid lawsuits. Purge the CDL system and hold all trucking companies liable. Non-English foreigners all over the roads needs to end. Yes. Hard fucking yes. This is amazing, and I love to see it. I would also like to see them start going after the actual trucking companies. What I failed to realize, though, and somebody mentioned in my comments, was that some of these trucking companies are just illegal in and of themselves, right? Like, they'll make, like, fucking, I'm trying to think of an Indian name that's not racist. The Sanjar Trucking, right? They'll have, like, Sanjar Trucking Company, and then as soon as, like, they get hit with a lawsuit, they'll dissolve the company and make Trucking Sanjar, or some shit like that, you know? You know, so, like, some of these companies are just, like, not even real, but they're all incredibly fucked, and they hire people that shouldn't be driving. So, I still think that we should attempt to go after these companies, and maybe going after the person who makes the company would help that a lot better from... So if they keep, like, making new fake ones, please start trucking. So I started seeing some tweets about this happening the other day. Henry Nowak, 18, drowned in his own blood as he lay cuffed and passed out on the street. He was stabbed multiple times by Vikram Digwa, 23, with an 8-inch Sikh ceremonial knife. When the police arrived, Nowak was arrested instead after Digwa accused him of racial abuse. I don't know how many times we have to see shit like this before enough people realize it's actually just legal to kill white people. It's actually just perfectly fine. If you kill a white person, that's no big deal. You might as well have just run over a possum on the highway. It's kind of getting absolutely constrainingly, like, infuriating. I don't even know how to talk about this shit without glowing anymore. And so I was like, I would like to know more about this. Someone here quote retweeted the Daily Mail post. It said, police were called to the scene but arrested Mr. Nowak after Digwa claimed he had been racially abused. Mr. Nowak was then handcuffed before passing out and dying in the street a short time later. And this guy said, a white male was hunted down and stabbed by a foreigner, but the police handcuffed him and left him to bleed out and die because the Indian cried racism. I genuinely do not know how to respond to this without glowing. Like, I don't even know what you're supposed to say at this point. Like, this should not be the world that we live in. You should not be able to just bleed out and die because of the color of your skin, because someone claimed you did a heckin' racism while they were stabbing you. Everyone complicit in the murder should be charged and face capital punishment. This is appalling. It is incredibly appalling. Like, we've had Irina Zarutska be murdered in a train in front of a bunch of people that didn't care and didn't attempt to go do anything and help. You had one guy run from, like, another train car to assist her after she already fell over. And what's gonna happen to the guy that murdered her? Probably not fucking much. You have Carmelo Anthony, who killed Austin Metcalf, who basically got his bail reduced to nothing and is now just staying at home chilling after murdering someone. How many times does something like this have to happen? Like, what is this? And then when you say, hey, why does it seem like it's okay for white people to just get murdered? People will be like, oh, you're a heckin' racist, you bigot. You're a white supremacist. And it's like, how in the fuck is not wanting people with white colored skin to just be murdered wantonly? How is that supremacism in any way, shape, or form? How is saying, I don't want to be killed and have nothing happen to the person who killed me invoke any kind of superiority? This is like the gentle cry of the oppressed. Please don't kill me for the color of my fucking skin. What are we doing here? A Sikh is how you pronounce Sikh, and they're kind of violent and on site with people, and no one cares about white people. It makes racist white people look pretty attractive to normies who are angry and fearful for their family. I remember 10 years ago, I remember people being like, oh, so many people get Muslims and Sikhs confused, but the Sikhs are based. Liam Sexton, thank you. They tore down a mural of Arena in Ohio with the mayor claiming it's inappropriate. Wasn't there also, like, the mayor in, like, Connecticut or Maryland or some shit also being like, we can't have this mural of a woman who was murdered purely for the color of her skin, as that's divisive? I feel like if you say having a mural of Irina is divisive, you're basically saying, people here hate white people, and I hate white people too. And so having a mural to someone murdered because they're white is very divisive to have in our neighborhood. Sikh man stabbed 18-year-old university student to death with an 8-inch ceremonial knife after claiming he'd been racially abused, court hears. A university student died after being repeatedly stabbed by a man armed with a Sikh ceremonial sword. Finance student Henry Nowak, 18, was on his way home from a night out when he was allegedly attacked by stranger Vikram Digwa, 23, with the 8-inch Shastar blade. Digwa was caught on camera saying, "I am a bad man," before the fatal attack, jurors were told. Now, why would the stabber say that? He is now on trial accused of murder alongside his mother, Kiran Kaur, 53, who is accused of assisting an offender. Oh God. Prosecutors said she went to the scene before running home with the knife to stash among an arsenal of weapons there. They both deny the charges. How is somebody allowed to carry around a ceremonial sword in UK where you need a license for a butterfucking knife? A Southampton Crown Court heard Mr. Nowak was in his first term studying accountancy and finance at Southampton University when he went for a night out in the city on December 3rd, 2023 with friends from his football team. This stabbing happened in 2023. I wonder if I heard about it back then or if I just don't remember. That's crazy. The teenager went home at around 11 p.m. and having drunk less than the legal limit to drive. Jurors were told he was speaking to friends on Snapchat when he came across Digwa. After he was stabbed, Mr. Nowak tried to climb a fence to escape, but Digwa was aggressively pursuing him, leaving a trail of blood, the court heard. Police were called to the scene but arrested Mr. Nowak after Digwa claimed he had been racially abused. Mr. Nowak was then handcuffed before passing out and dying in the street a short time later. Prosecutor Nicholas Laubenberg, KC, said, put simply, Henry drowned in his own blood with his lung having been cut by the knife going 8 centimeters into him. Vikram Digwa raises the defense of self-defense. He persisted that Henry perpetrated a drunken racist attack. He says he doesn't recall exactly how the fatal wound came to be inflicted. I just want to point out once again how absolutely absurd it is that this guy's defense is, I killed that white boy because he said something racist. If you can unironically get off on murder charges because you claim, even in the absence of evidence, that someone said something racist to you, this is going to literally nuclear launch Clown World into the stratosphere. Absolute state of the UK, the police knew Henry was stabbed and still arrested him instead of rushing him to the hospital. Considering the shit that criminals get off for in the US, I don't even know how much I can make fun of the Brits for this one, bro. Opening the case on Thursday, Mr. Laubenberg told jurors that Mr. Nowak's phone had captured the moment he met Digwa. Vikram Digwa was carrying an extremely large knife in a sheath openly displayed over his clothing. At midnight that night, Henry Nowak was dead. He had been fatally stabbed by Vikram Digwa using that knife, the knife that Vikram Digwa had chosen to carry out onto the street. The killing wasn't seen by anyone other than Henry Nowak and Vikram Digwa. The neighbors heard the aftermath as Henry Nowak complained that he had been stabbed and that he was dying. Tragically, was right on both counts. I know the British talk funny, but can we just say how, like, weird a sentence is that someone complained that he had been stabbed and was dying? I feel like you don't merely complain about that. I feel like that's a literal cry for help at this point. Wow, what a complainer. What a complainer, bro. After he had been stabbed, Henry Nowak climbed onto a bin and over a fence to try and escape, but he had already been fatally wounded and there was a blood trail on the street which demonstrates that he must have been stabbed before he climbed onto the bin and over the fence. Vikram Digwa chose to aggressively pursue him. The prosecutor said a video of the incident was found on Mr. Nowak's phone, which was discovered in Digwa's pocket. In the video, played to the jury, Mr. Nowak can be heard saying, "Hello, car," and singing to himself before yawning, with the footage then cutting to show Digwa walking away from him. Mr. Nowak is then heard saying, "In it, bad man? What bad man? You're a bad man. Say you're a bad man. Go on." Digwa replied, "I am a bad man," to which Mr. Nowak replied, "Are you a before the footage cuts off. What? This doesn't really give us much context here, man. That's also not racist. Mr. Laubenberg said the defendant's father and brother went to the scene shortly afterwards along with his mother, who was captured on video footage taking the knife back to their family home. The prosecutor said at the scene, Digwa denied stabbing Mr. Nowak and instead claimed he had been racially abused and attacked by a drunken man. Mr. Laubenberg said he didn't seek help for the man he had injured with his sizable knife. Instead, he accused him of being a racist and being drunk. Which he wasn't drunk, we just read that he was under the legal limit even. He said police initially handcuffed Mr. Nowak but started giving him first aid when he collapsed. Mr. Laubenberg said Vikram said he had not been stabbed. This was a lie. This was a man Vikram Digwa stabbed more than once. Henry Nowak fell unconscious and police tried to give first aid. A doctor was flown in by helicopter, but there was nothing that could be done to save Henry, and he was pronounced dead at 12:37 on the street. He suffered 4 stab wounds, including 2 to the back of his legs and 1 in his lung. Analysis of the knife found blood and fatty tissue matched to Mr. Nowak, and hairs from Digwa as well as DNA from Kaur were on the sheath, Kaur being the mother. In the UK, Sikhs are legally permitted to carry a kirpan knife in public as it is protected under religious exemption laws.
What the fuck?
I would say if there is any sort of ceremonial knife thing that Christians or Catholics have, hopefully people can hella lobby to carry that out in public too, because that's fucking ridiculous that British people can be harassed over having a fucking butter knife, but these guys are allowed to just carry around a long-ass dagger under a religious exemption. That is absurd. That is absurd under UK law. Like, I don't think any kind of knife should be criminalized, because that's absurd in the first place. But if we're going to play by clown world rules here, I think other people should start being like, hello, yes, I have a religious exemption for a knife. Here's this Bible quote. I like to carry a Publix dagger. Is it made of tendies? Carry a rifle for religion purposes. I do need to have my rifle by my side. You're correct. Sir, please stop bleeding. The minority said you weren't stabbed, so you really should stop that. Imagine being issued a citation. Sir, you're making the minority look bad by bleeding all over the street when they said they didn't stab you. Digwa was found to have a small kirpan around his neck that fulfilled his religious obligation, and the Shastar blade he carried on him was much larger, around 8 inches, the court heard. That's actually pretty average. The prosecutor said, Sikhism obliges male followers of the faith to carry and wear certain items, including a wooden comb, a metal bangle, and what is called a kirpan, a ceremonial knife. The small kirpan satisfies any religious obligation a Sikh may have to carry a blade, and Mr. Vikram Digwa was carrying that under his clothing and around his neck. He added Mr. Digwa was choosing to carry on the streets of Southampton a very large 21-centimeter bladed knife. The court heard the following, following his arrest, Digwa and his brother were transported in a police van, and their conversation was recorded. Mr. Laubenberg said the two chose to talk to each other, presuming they couldn't be heard. I can't even be glad that criminals are too low IQ to understand that everything they say is being recorded when they're in custody. I can't even be happy about that anymore because I can't count on any justice system actually delivering justice. He told his brother he stabbed Henry 3 times. He didn't mention any racism or self-defense. Addressing Kaur's charge, he said Kaur is the mom of the defendant. She came to the scene when her husband and sons were there. Her son asked her to take his Shastar, which is the large knife. This was captured on phone footage, which was being shot so it could be heard. It was stashed among an arsenal of weapons at the home. Analysis of the blade showed it had blood and fatty tissue on it. DNA showed it belonged to Henry. Hair belonging to Vikram Digwa was found on the knife. Digwa's barrister said he was acting in the heat of the moment in self-defense. Man, I was at my apartment before, and I lived below an absolute crazy lady. Like, I would make jokes on stream about how she must be, like, finding men to go on dates with and taking them home and then, like, fucking doing a Dexter on them. Like, just covering her apartment in saran wrap and murdering them and stuffing them in her walls. Because the amount of noise that came out of that woman's apartment and the kind of noises that came out of that woman's apartment were horrifying. And there was one time she was, like, drunk out of her mind and she came down to my apartment and she was outside. I don't leave my apartment much. I don't leave my walled prison of my own machinations much. She came to my door and she was like, Hey, it's safe to come out. I know you're in there. I know you can hear me. It's safe to come outside. I'm not gonna hurt you. You can come talk to me. Obviously, I was watching this and I recorded it in case I needed to. If she had attempted to break into my home because she knocked on my door, obviously I would have had to self-defense, but it's like, if I shared the same, like, low IQ kind of trajectory here, right? A low IQ individual probably would have opened the door and then attacked her. And it's like, you can't do that. She's only said ridiculous things at you. She's only kind of creepy and intimidating. She hasn't actually done anything. So, like, if somebody opened the door and then attacked that woman, they would be at fault, not her. Jeremy Wainwright, KC for Digwa, delivered a short statement to jurors after the prosecution outlined the case. Mr. Wainwright, KC, said, was Vikram Digwa carrying a knife or carrying, for legitimate religious purposes, a kirpan dagger for religious reasons? I don't think that matters if he used it to murder someone. What are we talking about? They're usually from 2 to 9 inches. This blade is 8 inches, so can still be considered legitimate. Who started this incident? Was it Henry Nowak saying things to Mr. Digwa or Mr. Digwa saying things to him? That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Even if, right, even in the alternate scenario where the guy was saying horrifically racist things, they are still saying things. That doesn't entitle you to murder them. The prosecution say there was categorically not a racially motivated attack by Mr. Nowak, but have they made you sure of that with that evidence? Was there a deliberate intention by Vikram Digwa to inflict really serious harm or kill when he used his kirpan, or was he acting in the heat of the moment in self-defense? You do not use a knife to self-defense against words, if words were even spoken. Like, let's be fucking real here. That is insane. That is an insane thing to fucking say. Absolutely insane. Doubly so when you realize it's coming from a country that you need a license for knives. This guy's like, he had a religious knife. You know, he's legally allowed to carry the religious knife. Was he legally allowed to stab this white person for existing? You'll be the judge of that, because I think so. Holy shit. You will be shocked and upset when you see the state of Henry Nowak and when you hear what's shouted at what is tragically a dying man. But did Digwa and his brother at the time realize they were dealing with a dying man, or was their anger generated by someone who was drunk who had racially attacked them and they weren't aware of the extent of those injuries? This is an argument not for him to get a light sentence, but an argument for him to be executed. Under, like, sane law, this would be an argument to get him executed. Following Henry's death, his family have campaigned to raise awareness about the impact of knives.
What? What the fuck?
We also need to stop people from being this retarded. It's not the knife. The knife didn't, like, unsheath itself like in some fucking weird biblical cartoon and be like, oi, that man is white, let's get him. Like, the knife didn't do that. What are we talking about? Dumb brainwashed family? Yes. They said, we just want people to know how much damage carrying a knife can cause. That should be changed too. We just want people to know how much damage unfettered immigration can cause, actually. This has caused such huge repercussions on so many people's lives. Is that still quoting the family? Because no, what? The only repercussions are to, like, you guys who should be grieving, not talking about knives. What is happening? Great Britain Politics had said an 18-year-old Southampton University student, Henry, has died after being repeatedly stabbed by 23-year-old Vikram Digwa. After being stabbed, police arrested Henry as Digwa claimed he had been racially abused. Henry then passed out and died on the street. I saw a couple of tweets showing a quote from some kind of an article that said that Henry's phone was found on Digwa. I don't know if that's true or not. It wasn't in the article we just read. So not sure if that is true or if that's, like, from some weird article I haven't seen. It did say that in the article? It did say. Did I miss it? I didn't even fucking... I was waiting for that to pop up in the article and I don't remember reading it. Yep, you guys are right. I did indeed read it. I just fucking... I don't know. The prosecutor said a video of the incident was found on Mr. Nowak's phone, which was discovered in Digwa's pocket. I don't know how I read that and then just, like, skipped over it in my brain because I was, like, trying to look for it even. I guess the more I want to find something, the less I'll be able to realize it. I don't know. But, yeah, that kind of adds even more credence to, like, this guy just made up the whole racist thing so that he could get off easier. Yeah, like, it's actual insane. Bro stole his fucking phone. And then after this, Christian Haynes, of many base tweets, said, we allowed the left to stage a neo-Marxist cultural revolution for 2 years straight after a loser crackhead overdosed on fentanyl. The entire country was paralyzed and we were all told the only way to rectify the situation would be to stop hiring white guys for anything and funnel billions into BLM scam groups. The fact that no similar outrage, no mass protest, no organized pressure campaign, and no similar attempt at a total rewriting of the social contract is taking place for this, the most outrageous miscarriage of justice we've ever seen in a nation whose government has largely been defined by acts of anarcho-tyranny, should tell you about how far we still have to go. Politics is defined by intensity, and there is almost none on the right. We will accept almost any abuse so long as it's legally defensible and that the necessary actions to correct it lay outside the procedural order that exists for no other reason than to constrain us. And I could not have fathomed putting this as perfectly as he did. It's kind of insane when you realize exactly what's been going on and how many people are complicit in continuously trying to shame you into a bubble of not acknowledging reality, and furthermore, not doing anything after you acknowledge reality. Like, just think of the amount of people who have lost their jobs, lost their platforms, lost any kind of ability to participate in the social public square. And the people on the left will cheer and say that this is a good thing because they're terrible people for not wanting to die.